Ladies and gentlemen, we do have the major fallout. Biden, the George Stephanopoulos, ABC News, incoherent babble, whining, not accepting the polls, many Democrats admitting it's a horrible look and that they need to move on. And now there's rumors, and there's been murmurs for the past 5 or 6 days, that on Monday, this was confirmed yesterday, senators are going to be going to talk to Biden and I think trying to get him to step down. Is it going to be an ultimatum situation where they say you either need to step down, you're cognitive, it's too far gone, or we're going to invoke the 25th? Are they going to give Biden that ultimatum? They all want Biden to go out like he's this hero, courageous. Obviously, they're trying to swing it like Biden's this great servant and that he has so much dignity. He's been so good. He just needs to get out because he's too old, but he's given up so much for the country. That's how they're trying to swing it, of course. It's totally ridiculous. He's been a terrible president. He's got one of the worst approval ratings in the history of the United States. I actually think it's the worst right now. It's down around 36% with the amount of inflation. But no. The stock market is at an all-time high. Guys, if you can't pay for groceries, if they cost 100% more than they did in 2021, you're so ungrateful. The stock market, it's at a record high. Billionaires are getting richer. It's so great. And normally they're the ones against billionaires. People that really benefit from the stock market are billionaires because it really doesn't give you a significant gain in terms of finances unless you already have a ridiculous amount of money. You're not going to be getting a 2 or 3x with the S&P 500. Sure, it'll go up 9 or 10%. That really only helps people that already have millions of dollars invested in the stock market. We live in a capitalist society. It's great, and it's easier to compound money that you already have. Once you have a lot of money, it's so easy to make more money. When it comes to this, you can see Biden says, I'm the guy who shut down Putin. Nobody thought we could do it, whatever that means. Yeah, well, Biden is just so far gone. But I think what Biden is talking about is, shut down Putin. It's not, the war still going on. But he's saying, he stood up to Putin with NATO. And now you've got kind of a stalemate right now with Russia and Ukraine. And it is true that there were a lot of people that said that Russia would, take the capital of Ukraine, Kiev, very quickly. It didn't happen. But in general, now you've got Putin coming out and admitting that he would be open to negotiations. And originally, there was already supposed to be a peace agreement happening between Ukraine and Russia, but NATO stepped in with Boris Johnson. So I think Zelensky's going to be open to it, and I think Trump's going to pull this off and get it done. Of course, the liberal spin will be, well, you appeased Putin, you're a Russian traitor, you're an asset, if he gives Putin those 2 territories. But you have to understand, it's compromise. Putin's not going to, turn his troops back to Russia with their tails between their legs. They've sacrificed so much, they need more. So Biden is just coming out saying that, with NATO, this is what we did. There's really if I was Trump, I would ask Biden, well, I guess you can't really do this with the way the debate format is, but I would be like, so what is the plan here? Just to never end, keep funding Ukraine and trying to hold the line? Is that really the end all be all? Because the more this stalls, the more of a chance you've got a Pacific War starting with the United States having to help Taiwan, and then you've got a war on both sides, which is something you don't want, because that basically gives you a double chance that we could be headed for World War III, the bigger wars. You've got 2 major players like Russia and China, both involved in wars on opposite sides, with the United States having to help both with NATO, and then obviously with the situation with Taiwan. Obviously, we're going to be the number one helper, along with South Korea, along with Japan, but it always falls on the U.S. due to our military size. Biden out on Monday. Yeah, this was another thing. They're talking about it. I do think there could be a meeting with Biden. We saw the governors meet with him. They kind of just, they were kind of pussies. They didn't do anything. I think the senators are going to go say, look, you got to drop out, or we're going to invoke the 25th. We're putting pressure on you. That's what I think is going to happen on Monday. So many Democrats, I would say around 80% at this point, want Biden to drop out, whether it's in public or not. And the idea is to get Biden out ASAP. That's why all the liberal media has turned on Biden. And you watch that interview, it's just total denial. He still does not buy the polls. He does not buy where his approval rating is. It's like an old man yelling at a cloud. They can't get him to accept the fact that he's going to lose, and he's got this very tight inner circle, and they reported on it last night. It makes total sense. He's listening to like 5 people right now. So will they really ramp it up and say, we don't want to do this. It's going to look really bad for our party. We're not going to invoke the 25th. You just need to drop out. It's getting out of control. Will it have to be Pelosi, Obama, Schumer, all of them going to him and trying to talk to him? Because listen, the polls that are going to be updated, I think Rasmussen still needs to update. I think Fox News does. The polls are only going to get worse for Biden over the next few days. It's not going to get better. So when you look at the average, it's going to get even harder, and Biden's going to be even more up against it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Biden is in a total free fall. He can't raise money and is canceling fundraisers in swing states. A lot of the top donors, including like Disney that was donating to him, have come out and said, we're done donating to Biden until there is a new candidate. So this is really a DEFCON 1 situation for Biden. He's too old. He can barely talk. And Democrats obviously are trying to. They really should have. This is why it's so ridiculous. And a lot of people have pointed this out. Coming into the debate, it was really just the crazy conservatives who were making things up about Biden. It was all deep fakes. And it's crazy that they actually towed the line and said that when you look at Biden. And I said, it's every day there's 5 different things. Number one, none of it was a deep fake. Number two, we see Biden now going out trying to do all these rallies. It's only getting worse with the things that he's saying. He said he was going to beat Trump in 2020. He's like, and we're going to beat him in 2020. And then like 3 seconds later, he realized it during a rally in Wisconsin. And then he's like, and we're going to beat him in 2024, when really he meant to say 2024 at the start. So with Biden, it's every day. It's mess up after mess up after mess up. And now there's like really dumb liberals who still support Biden coming out and saying, I saw this 28-year-old dude who's got like this weird beard. He can't even grow a beard. He came out and said that, oh my God, the media is focusing on every little thing Biden says. No. If we actually, like take the interview last night. If we actually went through it and focused on every little thing, Biden literally messes up in every sentence. I'm not kidding. Whether it's a 3-minute stutter like, there'll be just dead time. They'll ask him a question and he'll mess up throughout. There's no truly coherent sentence, and the other thing is, in terms of his talking speed, and you could say, well, this is nitpicking. No, this is the president. You should be able to talk. He has no talking speed. He'll either talk really slow or extremely fast. You can barely understand him. So we're not nitpicking everything. If we did literally every sentence, he's too old. He's too cognitively declined. This is what happens. He should not be running the country. And I know Republicans are saying, well, it's good if Biden is the choice. I think Harris is going to perform worse than Biden. Listen, they're going to try and swing Harris and be like, oh, we're rejuvenated now. We've got someone that can talk. Whoop-de-doo. Harris is going to get no independent support. Harris is going to get not the black support that she thinks she is, because they're going to try and play up that card, the woman card, the black card. It's not going to work. It worked with Obama, but now this is someone that really doesn't deserve it. Obama won in the primaries. His trajectory was so much better going into that election in 2008 against McCain. He was the young gun. Harris has just been given all this stuff as kind of the token minority female to go on the ticket with a white male in 2020, because the Democrats are obsessed with optics and they have to balance it. So I don't think Harris is going to do any better than Biden. If Harris is the choice, that's perfectly fine. I would not be concerned if I was Trump. The only time I would be concerned is, and this isn't even big concern, but there'd be more of a concern, is if it's Whitmer or Michelle Obama. Newsom, I guess I'd be a little bit more concerned than Harris. But Kamala is to me is just, I think Trump's going to, and now there's new polls coming out saying, I know they tried to swing it like, oh, Harris is now outperforming Biden. The new polls say that Biden is actually outperforming, and these are just single polls, but Biden was down by like 3 points. Harris was down by like 7 points, I think, in terms of the popular vote. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure there's going to be more polls that come out, but either way, whichever one they want, I would not be concerned if I was Trump. The only issue becomes is if it's, Whitmer or Obama. I don't even think I'd be that concerned then, but it would be a little bit of a tougher fight. Who is running the government, Hunter or Jill? Well, it is Jill Biden, the main leader right now of the United States. Hunter also has big influence, and listen, I do joke about Hunter. I just think it's so crazy that Hunter actually has this amount of influence in the White House after everything that's happened. And the Democrats denying, oh, Joe's not involved with Hunter. Now, obviously, Joe does trust Hunter. He trusts his inner family. They're very tight there. And you look at the scandals and you look at Hunter taking all the foreign money, calling his father the big guy. No, none of that's real. It's all fake. But now suddenly they're this tight-knit family. Of course, that was all real, and so is this. Joe Biden is being advised by Jill and Hunter mainly, and they're the ones in his ear. No actual Democratic strategist would look at this situation and say it's, fine to continue to run based on everything that's happened. Many Americans said that Biden was a corpse. The debate confirmed it. And now his numbers are tanking even more. And now you have a fracture within the Democratic Party, which are only going to hurt his numbers even more on top of that. Because now more than half of the Democratic Party and CNN, he's totally lost CNN, they're coming out against him. Every day there's something about CNN people saying he needs to step down. This is a joke. His numbers are only going to get worse. It's not a united Democratic Party. And I'm sure they'll do the whole charade, unite around Kamala or whoever it ends up being. But right now, it's like a double, triple, quadruple whammy for Biden because he doesn't even have the mainstream media support. I mean, MSNBC, those people are deranged. They'll support anything that walks or even doesn't walk if it's facing Donald Trump. So they're still kind of support. But even Scarborough came out and said, he really needs to think about stepping down. So when you've got that and you've got Pelosi saying, how about this? Nancy Pelosi saying he does need to take a cognitive test. And then last night he says, no, I'm not taking one. So it's clear he's just disobeying the power Democrats right now. To me, that's very clear based on the public-private statements. Biden pushing to expand NATO prompted Putin to invade Ukraine. Well, no, I think Russia mainly invaded Ukraine because back in 2004, all those Eastern European countries like Lithuania, they joined NATO, and this has been simmering for a while. This really started back in 2014 with the annexing of Crimea. But no, I think you're right. I think Biden's rhetoric is really horrible. He doesn't want any type of peace. And you've got these situations, they're going to start bubbling over. It's so important. Putin's going to want land. They've sacrificed so much. You have to understand, you're not going to be able to drive them back and they're going to be perfectly fine with it. The only way that would happen is if that regime somehow got replaced, which obviously would be a major problem in and of itself. It would create so much instability in Russia and also the world. You have to do some type of compromise, and Trump is willing to do a compromise, but NATO right now is really not, because I think NATO, we've let Europe, and throughout this entire war, control NATO, which is so ridiculous considering the United States makes up like 70% of the budget of it. When Trump got in 2016, he forced those NATO countries who were not paying to pay more, and then he threatened to leave NATO as a token threat. He really wasn't going to leave NATO, but it's important for the United States. It's like the obligation always falls on us. Make sure other countries are paying their fair share. That's why Trump left the Paris Accord, which, by the way, was totally smart. The media hijacked that. They said Trump didn't care about the climate. The Paris Accord, in terms of the United States, requirements with CO2, is completely meaningless. It's just like a figurehead thing. The United States has much stricter CO2 restrictions put on themselves by their own government than the Paris Accord ever would. The Paris Accord was basically the United States giving money to poor countries to help fight climate change. And Trump's like looking at this list. It's like, you got to send 100 solar panels to Zimbabwe. It's like, what are we talking about? The Paris Accord never made any sense. That's why Trump got out of it. And then the media said, oh, Trump hates the climate. When we left the Paris Climate Agreement back in 2017, we had record low number of CO2 emissions in terms of an overall decrease. They decreased the most since we started this whole climate crisis in 2017 when we left the Paris Accord Agreement. And then people say, well, that's because Obama, it's the lag. Obviously he was just in power. What about 2018, 2019, 2020? Overall, during Trump's administration, the CO2 emissions went down. Trump was a green president. He brought the CO2 emissions down. And so they gaslight and they say, no, the Paris Accord, he's so evil. He hates the climate. It doesn't affect the United States. That agreement forced us to give hundreds of billions of dollars to poorer countries so they could fight climate change. I don't know, what are we giving them? Wind turbines or something? It's a joke. So really, that's what's going on here. And you can see Biden talking about this, and obviously Biden, there's just too much Democratic dialogue to continue this war. It doesn't make any sense. It is very reckless. We need to end it. They don't want to end it. This is Biden talking about, would you be willing to undergo an independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results? Look, I have a cognitive test every single day. So he denies it, and then Stephanopoulos finally gets him to say, I'm not going to take one. It's such a charade. I mean, you've got Nancy Pelosi saying he needs to take one, he won't do it. You also do have, so Laura Loomer reported that Biden had some type of medical emergency. The problem is with these people, they just erroneous report things. I don't believe Biden had any type of emergency. I think it's important. Like, this woman is insinuating that, oh, they've been lying about Biden's health for so long. Why would they stop right now about some type of medical emergency? Honey, 80% of the Democrats want Biden gone. Do you think if he actually had a medical emergency on Air Force One, they would not try and blare that to the world? Like all of the establishment Republicans, if he actually had, why would they hide that? They want him out. And he's the one with his family that's being stubborn and not leaving. If Biden actually had a medical emergency, they would be sending it to CNN and oh my God, talk about this nonstop for the next 10 hours. This will put pressure on Biden to leave. They want him gone. Why would they hide this if they want Biden out? And it's clear they want him gone. In private, it's been reported. And even in public, they're coming out and saying things that they want Biden out. You do have this. Can you serve effectively for the next 4 years? I'm the guy who shut it. Yeah, that's the same thing there. And then how about, this is weird. So Gavin Newsom going around to the Rust Belt, to Pennsylvania. Where was he yesterday? I don't know, Michigan or maybe he was in Wisconsin with Biden. But he's campaigning for Biden. Is DeSantis going around campaigning for Trump? This is just a very strange dynamic. You've got Newsom going to these East Coast states and doing this. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. I guess it's all hands on deck there, and Newsom will really do whatever, Biden is telling them. I do think it is interesting that Newsom is still holding up the charade that Biden's going to be the guy. We need to, support him. So obviously he's getting told to say that from someone that's very likely not the inner family, so possibly someone else that's trying to keep Biden on the ticket within the Democratic Party, telling Newsom to go out and campaign for Biden. And if this does happen on Monday where they give Biden an ultimatum, you need to step down, you're going to have dignity. That's where the whole narrative comes into play. They're trying to give Biden this dignity. Biden's going to come out. Obama's going to be there. Pelosi, they're all going to be there. And he's going to say, I've had such a great run. I've served this country for 50 plus years. And I just mentally am not there anymore. I just had a test or whatever. They've proved it. And it's time for me, for the betterment of the country, to step down. And Kamala's going to lead us. She's going to be great. And it's going to be this big ceremony, this passing of the torch. They're going to get all this public, media praise. And then they're going to the DNC. They'll create all this phony hype. And it's all a joke. And they'll try and pick through polls and decipher which ones Kamala is doing well in and try and promote those and say, see, we've changed the election. We've turned it around. We're going to do another debate with Trump. We're challenging him to 5 more. So that's really what I think their plan is. They need to just get Biden out of the way and get him to agree to do this. And it's more so they have to go to Jill Biden and convince her, because she's really the one that needs to be convinced. If she tells Joe to step down, I think he will. She's really the power player here. It's not Joe. Joe is just the robot, the porcelain doll that Jill trots out and pushes him in front of the public. So we will see what ends up happening when it comes to Monday and next week. And Biden is still a developing story, him potentially stepping down, getting out of the race, or possibly staying in. We will see. Either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.